What's going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video we're talking about why the Charlotte Hornets suck. Basically, 2 straight games of just very lackluster effort on the defensive end of the ball. LaMelo just chucking up shots. Brandon Miller looked fantastic tonight. I think he finished with like 22 points on pretty efficient shooting, and he looked good on defense. Mark Williams also had a great bounce back game, and that's what I was really, keen to see about. Yes, Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart kind of bullied him, but hey, it is what it is. It was in the past. How would he bounce back? He scored like our first 10 points. Overall, there's really not much to talk about, to be honest with you. I know a lot of times people say, like, you don't come on here when we talk about losses. And I don't. I'm not going to sit here and run from that. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not true, because most of the time it's true. Well, last year I will say that a lot of our losses was just, we were missing a lot of players. But this year so far, and in some parts of last year, it's the same theme over and over again. And also, real quick, sorry that my audio may sound a certain way. The audio program I usually use is for some reason like freezing up every time I try to open it, but I wanted to get this video out, so apologize for that. But anyway, it's just lack of effort, man. It's a lack of effort, a lack of just individual skill to a point. Know-how, maybe, because like I said, LaMelo Ball, we have him chucking up shots. Yes, I understand he just got cleared. He's one of the most dynamic players, when healthy, one of the most dynamic offensive players in the league. There's so many other ways he can affect the game positively without chucking up the ball before the shot clock even gets down to 20 seconds. And which Steve Clifford said in the presser, it led to so many fast break points for the Brooklyn Nets, which Ben Simmons on the break is one of the scariest things. I don't care how many, he could not play another 3 years and then come back and play. And Ben Simmons on the break, as long as he's in shape, will still be one of the scariest things in basketball. So it's just, these guys, I feel like they're so honed into their talent, and it almost makes you wonder, do they watch the game? You hear players talk about, like, yeah, I know this guy likes to go to his left, I know this guy likes to go to his right, I know this guy likes to hit the corner shot, I know this guy, you know what I'm saying? We don't really hear that. We hear from Steve Clifford, but we don't really hear from our guys, and they're talented for sure, but it's just like that's kind of all they rely on. And there's some guys, Cam Thomas, it seems like he's one of them. There's some guys who are just good. Like, so you're going to have to, you may not just be able to out-talent them night in and night out. They're that good. Of course, obviously I'm leaving out Steph and Giannis and all those kinds of guys. But we usually get beat by, like, these kind of guys. And it's just like you would think that to study him to understand something, but it's just like we were leaving guys open on every time down the floor. And I think Steve Clifford has these guys trying to play like a rotational defense. Like, everybody rotate. We blitz and then rotate, blitz and then rotate. And it's just not working. And he needs to, as a coach, he needs to be able to understand that it's just not going to work with these guys. It's early. I get it. But there's a lot on the line here. This is something we try. Like, let's say we made the playoffs last year and we got knocked out, whatever. Okay, fine. This team's good enough. That's something you can revert back to. But right now, these guys don't seem to ready to play that kind of defense, and we're trying to get somewhere. And it's hard to get somewhere without, I know you have to practice it, but it just doesn't seem like now's the time. Mark Williams just got cleared from what Steve Clifford said. We obviously know LaMelo Ball just got cleared. And it's just not working. Terry Rozier's not really a defender. Like, I think he does a pretty good job defending, but he's not a defender. I'm tired of seeing him guard the other team's best offensive player. It doesn't make any sense. Miles Bridges is not going to fix this. And I think that the team and maybe a lot of fans are going to be really upset because they could look at this and be like, oh, well, Miles is coming back and blah, blah, blah. Miles Bridges is not going to fix this. Plus, I know some people say, well, he can help on the defensive end. He can. Miles is a very athletic player. He's a guy that I think he does care about defense a little bit, but that's not what I want to see him do. Not when, we have other guys to kind of handle that. PJ, but Gordon Hayward, I don't know. We have other guys that I'd rather handle that. Miles Bridges is also a 20-point per game scorer, if he comes back even somewhere near to where he was before he was gone. So it's just, I would rather see him do that and have other guys handle the defensive end of the ball, but obviously give some effort on defense. But it's just frustrating to see this team night in and night out. And it's only been 2 games, of course. Well, 3, but because even in the Hawks game, they had some lackluster defense, but it's only been 3 games. But I'm sorry, man. I'm just sick and tired of having the same conversation over and over again when it comes to our losses. It's very rarely that a team just beats us, a team is just good. It's a good game back and forth, and man, we just lost to a last-second shot. Oh man, we lost because of this. Like, you know, just things like that. I would rather lose to just lose. Like, oh, they were the better team tonight. Leave it at that. The Nets were the better team tonight, but the Hornets just didn't do themselves any favors. We're taking bad shots. Luckily for Terry, he's been taking bad shots, but luckily for him, they've been going in. And I know people say, well, LaMelo, Terry, they're tough shot makers, and they are. But you have to understand when there's a time to do that. LaMelo chucking up threes. We're already down 15 plus, and they haven't been going in for you all season. You're too good of a player to be doing that. You're too good of a player to just try to shoot your way back into the game, especially when you're not completely healthy. It just doesn't make any sense. Nick Richards, and I'm just going off the top of my head. I don't even have the stat sheet in front of me. But Nick Richards, I don't know, man. He had us all fooled last year. He's still back to being just weak, getting bullied. I've never seen someone get so close. He does a really good job of fighting for the board. He can never just bring it in. It's always tap, 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 tap. So it's just, these are a lot of things that with the team I'm just completely just frustrated with. PJ, I think he had a pretty good game. I have to go back and actually watch. I don't remember him just kind of wowing me. It was just, you know, he would get some stuff here and there. I think he rebounded a lot better than usual, but the Nets also didn't really have a center out there tonight. Mark Williams, I think I mentioned, of course, already had a great game. Brandon Miller had an amazing game. I think Brandon Miller was one of the two players who really played their butts off tonight, Mark Williams being another one. And I know people are going to look at Mark Williams being taken out, but a lot of that was because he was too busy we were getting killed. And Steve Clifford mentioned this in his presser, but we were getting killed on one-on-one situations. Anytime you were asked one of our players to guard one of their players with no help, couldn't do it. That's why we had to keep sending the blitz, but then we would just leave someone open. So it was just very frustrating. It comes down to you wanting it. There's no X's and O's to this. There's no lineups to this. You have to want it. And right now, in the past couple of years, it just doesn't seem like we want it enough. Even 2 years ago, I know all summer I've been talking about that team because this team, I thought, reminded me of that team. But even 2 years ago, a lot of the games we lost were because of stuff like this. The Hornets would just play around. And I'm not saying the Hornets would have been like some 50-win team if they didn't do that. I'm not saying they would, you know what I mean? I'm not saying any of those things. But I am saying that they're just not doing themselves any favors by playing the type of defense or just even playing with a lackluster offense. Just kind of throwing up shots, not really getting in a set shot. It's just a really frustrating thing to watch. We have guys like J.T. Thor coming off the bench who's providing absolutely nothing. Teo Maldon providing absolutely nothing. I know he just came off injury, but geez, like, if you're the front office, and granted, new owners, I understand for them letting this play out because you don't want to kind of clean house and then, you know what I mean? It was just such a short turnaround. You kind of want to do that after Mitch Kupchak, Steve Clifford, their contracts are up after this year. So I get kind of like the business part of it, but there's just no way. There's just no way we go into the season. You're telling me now that LaMelo just got cleared this month, which fine, I completely understand. But you didn't bother to get a backup point guard at all. You gave me Frank Ntilikina, who's hurt, who still doesn't solve the issue, and then you give me Edmund Sumner, who you end up cutting, and then you bring in Ish Smith, who really don't play defense at all. Now I really like Ish Smith for the veteran presence, love it for the veteran presence, but overall it's just so frustrating because you knew these things. We didn't. We're listening to y'all, and you knew that LaMelo's not completely healthy, and yet you didn't do anything to address the backup point guard position. Anything. All you do is pull up two guys off the street. One of them's trash, and Ish Smith, I really don't even want him to play. Like, I value Ish Smith. I really think that was a good signing, especially considering what's probably available the day before the season or whatever. Or maybe even, I think the season already started. I don't know. But I really appreciate what he'll bring to the team off the court. That's something we desperately need. But as far as on the court, it would be unfair to Ish Smith for me to expect anything crazy. Now, if he provides it, he provides it. But I'm just saying, man, our bench is just absolutely terrible. Gordon Hayward didn't look good tonight, and that's another thing that he just hasn't been quite what I really wanted him to be. I thought he was just gonna kind of be our safety net. Like, we got all these guys, like Brandon Miller, the rookie, LaMelo Ball, who we know takes crazy shots, but a lot of times he makes them. But you know, he's not completely healthy. Terry Rozier, we know as well, also takes crazy shots and kind of just like a sporadic guy, which normally it does end up going well for you, but still, I thought Gordon Hayward could be someone, okay, when all that goes awry, we still have this guy. No, it just doesn't seem that way. It's super early into the season, but if you're a Hornets fan, you understand that we've seen this play out before, and it's the same thing every time. Of course, I would prefer to be wrong. I would prefer this team to kick it into gear, hopefully before Miles comes back, and we're not having this conversation anymore. But until then, I'm just pessimistic. I'm pessimistic because I just don't believe anything the team tells me anymore. The players don't look like they want to play half the time. It's just like you're leaving guys wide open. And it's just simple ball watching. A lot of times it's just, I'm going to, for some reason, turn my back on the person I'm guarding to watch whoever is guarding the ball. And then I get beat off a cut. The guy gets the ball real quick, has a quick release, hits a three. All kinds of stuff. Just all kinds of stuff happens. And it's just basic basketball. And I just don't understand. And the reason I'm so upset is because we're so much more talented than that. Talent-wise, if you took our talent, removed the stats, removed all that, and just individual talent, we should be a much better team than what we are. I'm not saying we should be this #1 seeded team, but we should be a much better team than what we are. We are a pretty solid team. We have at least, at complete health and everybody not suspended, we have a good 5 to 7 solid guys. It's just, I understand you're going to have ups and downs throughout the season, but for some reason, our team, they all choose to be down at the same time. Don't understand it. Brandon Miller can't do it on his own. He's a rookie. This is not going to last forever, and that's no disrespect to Brandon Miller. Love Brandon Miller. I think he had an exceptional game. Game translates well. I can make a whole video about what I've seen from Brandon Miller. In fact, I will. I can make a whole video about what I've seen from Brandon Miller. I love his game. It's completely ridiculous and unfair to rely on a rookie to kind of help these grown veterans get into shape or hold off until it's like, no, you should have handled that. You should have got a veteran. You should have did something. There's something else you could have did. But now Brandon Miller has to essentially deal with himself. Terry Rozier, kind of, maybe. And he's playing backup point guard, which 100% we know that that is not his role. The same way we scream that that's not Nick Smith Jr.'s role and that's why we don't want him to do it. The same way Terry Rozier is doing it because he absolutely has to. That is not what you're automatically hurting yourself by forcing him to play that role when that's not his role. So, I don't know. I wish I could come on here and talk about, like, oh my goodness, they were using Ben Simmons as the ball handler in the pick and roll and as the roll man in the pick and roll, and it was killing us. And I would love to talk about that. I would love to talk about Horns plays, and I would love to talk about all kinds of just random basketball mumbo jumbo, but I can't because all of our deficiencies, at least the key majority of them, all comes from effort. And if you don't want it, then it doesn't matter.